And then I have a thing, eyes just
Same.
don't.
I do too. And I had to like turn my head because I'm like, I can't do it. Hi, I'm Stephanie Williams, and welcome to another episode of Superhero Club Reacts. I am joined today by Anica. Anica, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm excited to look at some Invincible clips and react to them. And spoiler alert, they are all pretty gruesome. But so it's a series, and that's why we love it. So we're going to go ahead and get into it with episode 1.
Oh no.
Darkwing, why did you call us here?
And honestly, the guy who's really fast should just not be there. I would have left. In fact, everyone should have just got the hell out of there.
I know, we're more like the Omni-Man type where we're like, I work solo. Like,
Yeah.
you see going south and you're like, I got a thing. It's going to take all day, even though I'm the fastest man in the world. Yeah.
I know, right? Or this is the day where you should have like took your PTO and the poor fish guy.
Yeah. Oh God. I remember the first time watching this, like, there's no violence up until this point.
No.
And then I have a thing, eyes just
Same.
don't.
I do too. And I had to like turn my head because I'm like, I can't do it. And it's so weird because I used to sit in on surgeries at a job that I had, and that was gruesome in a way. Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, and he's breaking his hands.
I know. The hand breaks is so like, as he's punching and his hands start breaking, I'm like, oh, this like sad desperation to stay alive is like making it worse. This scene was definitely one of those things that like, this episode ended and I just sat there for a few seconds and was like, I don't feel good.
Yeah, that was the same for me. And I actually had to run it back because I was like, wow, they really did the thing. Because in the comics, this doesn't happen right away. There's several issues before this actually goes down. So, wow. She should have stayed at her job. She was like...
She's like a hedge fund manager or something. It's like, girl, you were set. Stay there.
Don't show up. You don't even need to be a hero.
Although this part bothered me with the shape-shifting guy, because I'm like, if you have like one weak spot, you should not put it in easy like grasping range.
You know, and like you've been fighting for a while, like you have practice.
Yeah, you put like the sensitive part elsewhere. That's all I'm saying. Just put it to the back. He can't reach back there.
And this is what happens when you have a weapon that is not attached to your hand permanently, because if you lose it, then all your teammates get killed by it.
I love how this is supposed to be this like intense, like, oh my God. And we're like, they kind of walked into this. Like, I'm just saying.
They did. Easier said than done, but it's just, oof.
I know. All I'm saying is that if someone came into my job and started punching all my colleagues, I'd be like, actually, this is a little above my pay grade. I
don't even know if I'm saying anything to anybody. I'm slipping out the back.
Yeah, right. I'll be like, I didn't get my watch isn't charged. I didn't get the message.
My phone's broke, so.
Yeah, sorry.
No service.
Oh man, that scene's intense.
And then he's just there. So yeah. So as you can see, no matter how many times we've seen it, I've seen it a lot. It's just a lot to process.
It just, especially because that whole episode, it's like zero violence and like or very like wholesome cartoony violence. And when I was watching it yesterday, I was like thinking about like sound design and stuff, and I was like, part of what makes this work so well is that this show starts out with really good, like, generic superhero music, and then during that, as soon as the violence kicks in, the music kicks out, and then it's just silence and the sound of guts ripping apart. Oh, it works so well.
It is a ceremony of hands and feet.
Yeah, I love it. It's so impactful. So that episode, I remember seeing that and being like, I'm gonna love this show, and it's gonna also make me feel very queasy.
Exactly. So I love that the next clip that we're going to do actually involves some music while folks get fucked up.
So we were talking about this before, but I love the subplot with these aliens, just the like, instead of having to do this big arc of like, oh, they're coming back over so many different seasons. It's like, yeah, time's different from them. So we get to have a really accelerated thing.
It's such a smart storytelling device too. Kind of get in and get out and have a cool thing happen. And then there's no question of it because they're dead anyway.
Also something I really like about the subplot is his beard, but also more importantly, that was the fact that it showed us how smart Robot is, because the fact that he's like, I have theories about what's happening. Oh, their time just functions differently. That was such a good storytelling device of like, look he's smart. We don't have to be like, Robot has an IQ of 5,000. They're just like, look, he's smart. He knows things, which I really like.
Oh, I love it too, and that's why he ends up getting the Muller twins to like make the meat baby for him.
I know.
And I'm sorry, we're not watching that clip, but if you want to see it, go head over to Amazon Prime Video. It is there for you to stream.
Yeah,
I think that is.
If you want to see it, just Google the baby from David Lynch's Eraserhead, and you've seen it. Oh my God,
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, right. You're like, oh, it's kind of cute. All right. I know. I love Robot. I love the Muller twins, like hands down. I was like, I finished, the season and was like, I like them. Can I have a show just about them? They're very cool.
Just their exploits. In fact, just give me 2 solid episodes with just them and like, I'm good. All right, guys, we're going to get to the video that you all might be waiting on. I'm not sure, but it takes place in Chicago, and I grew up there, and that train, taking a CTA, brought back memories, and I'm so thankful nothing like this ever happened. So here we go.
Yeah, this is a hard one because now, like when they showed stuff like this in the first episode, you're like, this is wholesome. But now, knowing what you know, you're just waiting for like, the guy with the ice cream's head's gonna explode. Great. Like, it's so much more tense.
And Omni-Man is still hot. I'm so sorry.
I felt, like during the subway scene and everything, I was like, oh, he's bad. Oh, but I had a lot of, that was the part of the show that I was like conflicted. I was like, am I a bad person? Because the whole time I'm still watching him being like, wood.
He's pretty terrible. He is a space colonizer, so there we have it there.
He's bad. He's a silver fox, and anything J.K. Simmons does, I'm like, he has a voice that's just,
We can't help ourselves. But this city is wrecked already. The building, and poor Invincible in this scene, because he is like trying his best to save who he can, and he can't save anybody.
I know. It's such a hard, like, just because you see him, early on be like, oh my God, being a superhero is not just like, everything's fine. Like, I save all the people. It's like, here's the gritty shit. Like, people die and it can be your fault. And they do a really good job illustrating that here.
They do, because like everything that we're seeing right now, if you've watched the Avengers, that first movie where they messed up.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So this is what was going on in New York.
Oh, God. And that part where he's holding the hand, I have flashbacks because I remember seeing Jurassic Park in theaters.
Yes!
And I had to leave because the part where she's like, oh my God. And then it's just like his severed arm. Like, I was a kid and I was like, I'm scarred. And seeing that again, I'm like, no.
Not the recess, not those memories coming back.
I know. I'm like, I don't need this again.
I just, poor Invincible, like he's had his powers it hasn't even been like a full year and he's already been through hell and back.
I know. I feel so bad for him. I also know, and you can correct me on this, but I know in the comics, it sounds like Omni-Man has a bit of a redemption arc, or is that not?
Yes, he does. Yeah, because there are worse Filtermites than him. And they're on the way. But in comparison, I'm like, even still, like, it's kind of like,
it's still pretty bad. And obviously,
you're terrible. But yeah,
I don't want to spoil anything, but I just, because you get so invested in Omni-Man, and then suddenly this like shift where you're like, Oh my God. Like the time when he's like, yeah, I love your mom. She's like a pet. Like that was what was hard for me rewatching the first episode and being like, oh, they love each other. Oh, it's like me and my cat, where it's like, you're so good. Oh, and it just.
Give her credit. I appreciate the fact that she was at least smart about it. Like she didn't let go of her intuition. So that was good. And wow. So this would be the blue line, probably. I don't know. Maybe the red line, but those writers are in for a bad time.
They absolutely were. That scene is just insane because you see like the first scene or like the first violent scene in the first episode, and you're like, okay, I am prepared for what's to come. And then the subway scene where it's like nonstop, unrepentant, mega violence, and you're like, nope, I thought I hit rock bottom, and
it never ends. Oh, but thankfully the clip has ended. So I am ready for season 2.
Should I and the viewers, should we read the comics? I have it loaded up on my tablet, but
I think that you should. There's some stuff. Of course, they've like changed a little. You know what? I don't want to say they've changed anything from the comics. They've just kind of either condensed it or sped it up in a very smart way.
Yeah.
I think the comic is worth you reading. It's pretty solid. Are there some cringy things? Absolutely, but
I've heard bits and pieces, but the occasional things where you're like, oof, is like so outweighed by how amazing the story is. I know that there's really cool characters that people already love that like are in it even more. So I'm really excited to read it, and I'm so excited for the next season. I think it'll be really good.
And the really cool thing about this show is even if you've read the comics, you still aren't necessarily spoiled because of the way that they go about showing it. So don't be afraid to read. Go ahead and do that. But Anica, do you want folks to like follow you anywhere? Do you have anything to plug before we get out of here?
Sure. Speaking of violence, I'm actually an assistant boxing coach, and I do boxing streams over at twitch.tv/Anica. So come hang out over there, and we can just punch all of our feelings out about seeing all of everyone's feelings getting punched out of them, kind of literally. So yeah,
I love it. Do I have anything to plug? Actually, I do. If you are into more superhero stuff, for DC Comics, Nubian Amazon's #1 is out. It is a mini series that leads into a trial of the Amazon. I wrote a little something, or no, I'm writing the entire series along with Vita Ayala, with art by Alita Martinez, inks by Mark Morales, and colors by Amelia Lopez. So please check that out. The next issue will be out November 16th. That's issue 2. So for Anica, this is Stephanie Williams. This has been Superhero Club. Please like, subscribe, head on over to Amazon Prime Video to watch Invincible, The Boys, and any other superhero or comic book content available on Amazon Prime. So until next time, bye.